The sound was not an explosion, it was the weeping of reality itself. High above the multiverse, in the null space between existence and the void, a verdict had been delivered. There was no trial, only the blinding, absolute light of the Grand Priest's halo descending like a guillotine. Goku screamed, his body wreathed in the silver flames of Ultra Instinct, but the heat was sputtering, suffocating under a pressure that defied martial arts. This was not a fight, it was an erasure. Chains of white light, forged from the laws of the angels, wrapped around his limbs, burning through his gi, searing the Saiyan spirit that dared to reach too close to the sun. You have sought power beyond the station of a mortal. The Grand Priest's voice echoed. Not in the air, but inside Goku's very marrow. You disturb the balance. Therefore, you shall be cast to where balance does not exist. The floor of the cosmos shattered. Below Goku, the vibrant stars of Universe 7 vanished, replaced by a swirling, bruised vortex of purple and black, the Forbidden Gate. The gravity of the demon realm, sealed for eons, reached up like a million starving hands. Goku thrashed, his eyes silver white, desperate to find a foothold in the nothingness, but his ki was being stripped away, layer by layer. He looked up one last time, seeing the cold, indifferent eyes of the angels, before the darkness swallowed him whole. The light of heaven slammed shut. The silence that followed was heavier than death. Son Goku was gone. Before we descend into the abyss to witness the forging of a new king, mark your presence here. Ignite the like button to bind your energy to this timeline, ensuring this legend does not fade into the void, but rises to conquer the heavens themselves. The fall was not a passage through space. It was a violent dismantling of time. For what felt like a millennium, Son Goku fell through a tunnel of suffocating silence. The brilliant, prismatic lights of the multiverse, the glowing orbs of universes he had saved, the shimmering threads of timelines he had touched, streaked past him like dying embers, receding upward into a heaven that had rejected him. Then, the light vanished entirely. There was only the sensation of crushing weight, a pressure so immense it felt as if the entire history of the cosmos was being piled onto his chest. Impact. The ground did not welcome him. It shattered. Goku struck the surface of the demon realm with the force of a dying star. The collision sent a shockwave tearing through the obsidian landscape, flattening forests of twisted, petrified trees and cracking the tectonic plates of the dark world. A mushroom cloud of black dust and purple lightning rose high into the jagged sky, marking the arrival of the Exile. Silence returned, heavier than before. In the center of a crater that spanned miles, a hand twitched. It was scarred, the skin raw and smoking, trembling with a weakness it had not known since childhood. Goku gasped, a ragged, wet sound that scraped against his throat. The air here was not oxygen. It was a thick, cloying miasma that tasted of copper and ancient rot. Every breath felt like inhaling broken glass. He tried to push himself up, but his arms shook violently, collapsing under the strain. The gravity was absolute hundreds, perhaps thousands of times heavier than Earth. But it was not just physical weight. It was a spiritual heaviness, a crushing despair that sought to flatten the will as much as the bone. Whis. Goku croaked, his voice a broken whisper. Lord Beerus. He reached out with his senses, casting his mind upward, searching for the familiar, warm hum of divine ki. He looked for the distinct signatures of his friends, the burning heat of Vegeta, the calm of the angels. He found nothing. It was as if the ceiling of the universe had been soldered shut. The connection to the Kaioshins, to the god of destruction, even to the Dragon Balls, it was all severed. He was a singular point of light drowning in an ocean of ink. Panic, cold and sharp, spiked in his chest. Goku clenched his fists, forcing his battered body to stand. He needed power. He needed to break through this atmosphere and signal them. He closed his eyes, digging deep into the well of his spirit, seeking the calm, watery tranquility of Ultra Instinct. He tried to quiet his heart, to let his body move on its own, but the realm rejected it. The moment the silver light began to flicker around his skin, the atmosphere reacted violently. The purple lightning in the sky screamed down, striking the ground around him, and the miasma swirled like a predator smelling blood. The silver light sputtered and died. The tranquility shattered. Goku fell to one knee, coughing up blood. The demon realm did not allow for neutrality. It did not allow for the peace of the angels. Here, the air was composed of chaotic, negative energy. It cannibalized order. It ate divinity. Fine, Goku growled, wiping his mouth. The panic was fading, replaced by the old, familiar spark of stubbornness. If I can't be calm, I'll be angry. He gritted his teeth, shifting gears. He reached for the golden fire, Super Saiyan. The roar that left his throat was not the triumphant shout of a hero. It was the desperate snarl of a cornered beast. Golden light exploded outward, pushing back the shadows for a fleeting second. The ground shook, but the aura was jagged, unstable. The gold was pale, sickly. The oppressive weight of the realm pressed down on his aura, squeezing it tight against his skin. Maintaining the transformation felt like lifting a planet. Then, from the darkness beyond the crater's rim, eyes appeared. They were not the eyes of martial artists or warriors seeking a challenge. They were hundreds of glowing red slits, devoid of honor, filled only with a mindless, starving hunger. Low, wet growls echoed from the shadows of the petrified forest. The smell of fresh meat, of mortal meat, had drawn them. Goku narrowed his eyes, the pale gold aura flickering around him like a dying candle in a storm. He sensed them dozens of energy signatures, dense and oily. They were distinct from the Frieza Force, or the androids. These creatures felt like natural disasters given flesh. I don't know where I am, Goku said to the darkness, shifting into a combat stance. His body screamed in protest, every muscle fiber torn and heavy, but he raised his fists. But I'm not dying here. A massive shape lunged from the gloom, a behemoth of bone and shadow, with claws the size of scythes. It didn't scream, it just snapped its jaws, aiming for Goku's throat. Goku didn't dodge. He couldn't. The gravity made him too slow. Instead, he stepped in, burying his fist into the creature's midsection. The impact cracked the air, but the creature didn't fly back. It absorbed the blow, its flesh shifting like tar, and slashed downward. Goku barely rolled away, the claws tearing deep gashes across his chest, shredding the remains of his orange gi. Pain, white-hot and searing, flooded his mind. This wasn't a sparring match. This wasn't a tournament. The pack descended. The battle was a massacre of unrefined violence. There was no martial grace here, no rhythm of attack and defense. The demon realm did not honor the etiquette of the dojo. The shadow beasts, vile, chitinous nightmares that moved like oil spills, swarmed him with a coordination born of a hive mind. Goku moved, but his limbs felt encased in lead. He pivoted on his heel to dodge a snapping jaw, but the gravity dragged his momentum down, turning a fluid sway into a clumsy stumble. Teeth sank into his shoulder. Goku roared, the sound raw and guttural, and slammed his elbow back. The impact met bone, shattering the creature's skull, but 3 more took its place. They were relentless. They didn't care about pain, they only cared about consumption. Masenko! Goku screamed, thrusting his palms forward. A beam of yellow energy erupted from his hands, but it didn't fly true. The moment the ki left his body, the heavy, toxic atmosphere of the Makai devoured it. The beam fizzled, twisted, and detonated prematurely in his face. The explosion threw him backward, slamming him against a jagged spire of black rock. He slid down the stone, coughing violently, smoke rising from his scorched skin. The Super Saiyan aura flickered and died. The golden hair receded, leaving him black-haired, bruised, and gasping for air in his base form. The drain was impossible. The realm was leeching his life force just by existing. I can't use blasts, Goku realized, his mind racing through the haze of pain. The air is too dense. It eats the energy. I have to keep it inside. The pack circled him, sensing the drop in power. They chittered, a sound like dry leaves, scraping on stone, closing the net. The Alpha, the one he had struck first, reformed its broken carapace with a sickening wet crunch. It loomed over him, saliva dripping from a maw that seemed to split its head in two. Goku looked up, one eye swollen shut. His body was screaming for him to lie down, to sleep, to let the darkness take him. But deep in his chest, beneath the exhaustion and the fear, the Saiyan spark refused to extinguish. It burned hotter in the face of death. He forced himself to stand. His legs trembled, threatening to buckle. But he locked his knees. He raised his fists, not in a perfect stance, but in a brawler's guard. "Come on," he wheezed, blood staining his teeth. "Is that all you've got?" The Alpha shrieked and lunged. Goku didn't try to dodge this time. He stepped into the range of death. He concentrated every ounce of his remaining ki, not into a blast, but into a microscopic point on his right knuckle. He abandoned defense. He abandoned survival. He chose destruction. His fist met the creature's chest. Dragon fist. There was no golden dragon, no spectral avatar, just a shockwave of concentrated physical force that defied the crushing gravity. The impact was absolute. The Alpha didn't just break, it liquefied. The force of the punch blew a tunnel through the beast's torso and sent a shockwave rippling through the pack behind it, knocking them off their feet. Goku stood over the corpse, his chest heaving. For a second, he felt like a victor. Then, the darkness laughed. It wasn't a sound. It was a vibration that rattled his bones. The remaining beasts froze. The hunger in their eyes vanished, replaced by a terror so profound they pressed their bellies to the obsidian ground, whimpering. The wind died. The purple lightning in the sky halted. A pressure descended upon the crater, a presence so vast and ancient that Goku felt small, not weak, but insignificant. It was the feeling of standing before a tsunami, or staring into the eye of a black hole. From the cliff edge above, a silhouette floated down. She did not fall. She descended, as if the gravity obeyed her personal command. She was tall, her skin the color of pale moonlight against the eternal night of the realm. Her hair was a cascading waterfall of midnight violet, floating as if underwater. She wore armor forged from a metal that seemed to drink the ambient light, and in her hand, she held a staff tipped with a pulsing, crimson gemstone. But it was her eyes amethyst, slit-pupilled, and utterly cold that pinned Goku to the spot. Queen Malafina, the sovereign of the Makai. She touched down 10 feet from him, her boots making no sound on the rock. She looked at the decimated alpha beast. Then, at the trembling Saiyan, who could barely keep his eyes open. "A mortal," she said. Her voice was melodic, silky, and laced with venom, cast down from the heavens like a bag of refuse. Goku tried to speak, to ask who she was, but his throat was too dry. He swayed, his vision tunneling. She stepped closer, the miasma parting around her. She reached out a hand, her sharp, black fingernail tracing the line of the fresh wound on his chest. Goku flinched, but he didn't pull away. He couldn't move. "You smell of them," she murmured, her nose wrinkling in distaste. "You smell of angels, of order, of stagnation." She looked into his eyes, searching for something. "And yet, you fight like a beast. You killed a gloomstalker with your bare hands while drowning in our air." She smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing Goku had ever seen. It was a smile of possession. "The heavens threw you away," she whispered, her face inches from his. "They feared what you might become. How foolish." She turned her back to him, waving her hand dismissively. "Bind him. If he survives the night in the dungeons, he is worth keeping. If he dies, feed him to the hounds." As the darkness finally overtook Goku's mind, the last thing he saw was the queen walking away, and the shadows rising up to drag him down. Time was a fluid concept in the dungeon, measured not by hours, but by the slow, rhythmic dripping of liquid mana from the stalactites above. Goku sat cross-legged in the center of a cell carved from a single block of nullstone. The chains that bound his wrists and ankles were not made of iron, but of solidified magic, heavy, cold, and parasitic. They pulsed with a faint violet light, drinking his ki the moment he tried to gather it. He had been here for days, perhaps weeks. In the beginning, he had raged. He had strained against the bindings until his wrists bled, shouting for Whis, for Vegeta, for anyone. He had tried to force the Super Saiyan transformation, only to black out from the sheer exhaustion of fighting the realm's atmosphere. But now, he was silent. The silence was a teacher. Goku closed his eyes, his breathing slow and shallow. He stopped trying to push his energy out against the pressure. Instead, he did something he had never done before. He opened his spirit and let the pressure in. He tasted the air, acrid, heavy, filled with the malice of a billion forgotten souls. He felt the gravity, not as a weight to be lifted, but as a blanket to be worn. The angels use a power that moves without thinking, he mused, the memory of ultra instinct fading like a dream. But this place thinks only of hunger. It wants to consume. You are adapting. A voice drifted from the darkness. Most mortals would have withered into dust by now. Goku opened his eyes. Queen Malafina stood on the other side of the energy barrier. She was not wearing her armor today. She was draped in robes of woven shadow, looking less like a warlord and more like a specter of royalty. Her amethyst eyes studied him with a mixture of curiosity and hunger. "Why am I here?" Goku asked. His voice was raspy, but the fear was gone. "Because the Grand Priest is a gardener," Malafina said, walking slowly along the perimeter of the cell. "He prunes the branches that grow too wild. He keeps the multiverse neat, symmetrical, perfect." She stopped and looked at him. "We demons. We are the clippings, the failed experiments, the chaotic variables that the Kais could not control, so they swept us under the rug of reality and sealed the door." She pressed her hand against the barrier. "You, Son Goku, are a weed that grew too tall for their garden." Goku looked at his hands scarred, dirty, trembling slightly. "I just wanted to be strong, to protect my universe, and look where that got you," Malafina hissed softly. "Betrayed, exiled. Your protection was rewarded with erasure." She disabled the barrier with a wave of her hand. The humming energy field vanished. She stepped inside, the air in the cell suddenly growing colder. "I do not offer you redemption, Saiyan. I offer you truth. The angels deal in stagnation. They keep the world exactly as it is. But the demon realm, the Makai, is the realm of evolution." She knelt before him, her face level with his. You have reached the ceiling of mortal limits. The gods stopped you because they feared what lay beyond. I do not fear it. I crave it. Goku looked into her eyes. He saw no deception there. He saw a mirror of his own desire, the endless, burning need to see what lay past the next wall. What do you want from me? Goku asked. I need a king, Malafina whispered. The seal that binds this realm is weakening, but I lack the raw, kinetic power to shatter it. My magic is infinite, but my body is limited. Your biology is a miracle of adaptation. You survive what should kill you and grow stronger from it. She reached out, taking his chained hands in hers. Her skin was ice cold. Join me, son Goku. Bind your life force to mine. Let the essence of the Makai flow into your blood. You will no longer be a Saiyan of Earth. You will be a creature of the void. Goku hesitated. He thought of Chi-Chi, of Gohan, of the life he was leaving behind. But that life was already gone. The Grand Priest had made sure of that. If he wanted to return, if he wanted to survive long enough to ask why, he couldn't do it as the man he was. He had to become the monster they treated him as. He looked at the chains on his wrists. Then, he looked at the queen. If I do this, Goku said, his voice dropping to a low growl, I get to break the seal. I get to go back. We will break the heavens themselves, Malafina promised. Goku turned his hands over, clasping hers. Then let's do it. Malafina smiled, and the shadows in the room danced. The covenant is sealed. She leaned forward and kissed him. It was not a kiss of romance, it was a transfer of cataclysmic energy. Goku gasped, his eyes widening as a surge of cold, violet fire rushed down his throat and into his core. It felt like swallowing liquid nitrogen. The magic tore through his veins, hunting down the S cells that defined his Saiyan biology. But it didn't destroy them, it mutated them. The chains on his wrists shattered. Goku screamed as his body arched off the floor. His heart hammered against his ribs, beating a new, erratic rhythm. The golden light of the Super Saiyan flickered deep within him, but it was being drowned, suffocated by the purple tide of the Makai. The struggle between the two energies was agonizing. His muscles swelled, tearing and knitting back together in seconds. His bones creaked under the strain of a reconfiguration. Let it in, Malafina's voice echoed in his mind. Do not fight the chaos. Become it. Goku surrendered. He stopped trying to maintain the purity of his ki. He grabbed the darkness and pulled it into his soul. The explosion blew the roof off the dungeon. A pillar of energy, black at the core, rimmed with crimson lightning, erupted from the castle, piercing the eternal gloom of the demon realm sky. The shockwave flattened the surrounding city, sending demons and beasts tumbling like ragdolls. In the center of the swirling vortex, the smoke cleared. Goku stood. But he was changed. His gi was gone, replaced by the natural manifestation of his ki, a shadowy, obsidian armor that clung to his chest and legs. His hair remained black, but it defied gravity, spiking up sharper, wilder, longer than before, flowing like a mane. His tail, long severed, had regrown, thrashing behind him like a whip, covered in dark, coarse fur. But it was his aura that terrified. It was not the tranquil water of Ultra Instinct, nor the raging fire of Super Saiyan. It was a dense, heavy crimson, the color of dried blood. Goku opened his eyes. The warm black pupils were gone. His eyes were now golden yellow, with the slit pupils of a demon, set in pools of black sclera. He looked at his hands, watching the crimson lightning arc between his fingers. He clenched his fist, and the air cracked like a whip. He felt heavy, grounded, and infinitely powerful. Malafina stood amidst the rubble, her robes fluttering in the gale of his power. She looked at him with reverence. My king, she breathed. Goku turned to her. A grin spread across his face, not the goofy smile of the Earthling, but a wolfish, predatory baring of teeth. I feel, Goku spoke, his voice layered with a subsonic growl. Unbound. The demon realm was not a kingdom. It was a pit of vipers eating their own tails. For eons, the Makai had been divided into 7 circles, each ruled by a warlord of unfathomable cruelty. They were ancient beings, born of the shadows that the Kaioshins had cast off during the creation of the universe. They did not know peace, they knew only the eternal, grinding friction of war. Until now, Goku stood on the balcony of the Spire of Malice, overlooking the burning plains of the 4th circle. The sky was choked with the smoke of 1,000 fires. Below him, the ground was littered with the broken armor of the rebellion. They are stubborn, Malafina said, stepping out of the shadows to stand beside him. She placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch possessive. Lord Gura of the 5th circle refuses to kneel. He claims a mortal mongrel has no right to the Onyx throne. Goku didn't turn. He stared at the horizon, his eyes glowing with that unnerving, predatory yellow. The tail wrapped around his waist twitched. Gura, Goku said, testing the name. Has the one with the obsidian skin? The one who eats stars? The same. Goku cracked his neck. Good. I was getting bored. He didn't fly. He launched himself. The stone balcony disintegrated under the force of his takeoff. Goku became a streak of crimson light, tearing through the atmosphere with a sonic boom that shattered the eardrums of the soldiers below. He crossed the continent in a heartbeat, descending upon the fortress of the fifth circle like a meteor. Lord Gura was waiting. He was a mountain of muscle and spiked carapace, sitting on a throne of skulls, surrounded by elite guards. When Goku crashed through the ceiling, landing in the center of the throne room, the guards didn't even have time to draw their weapons. Goku raised a hand. Hakai? No. That was the power of a destroyer. That was the power of Beerus. Goku used the power of the Makai. Gravity collapse. The air in the room suddenly became heavier than a neutron star. The guards were instantly flattened, their armor crushing into their flesh, their bones snapping like dry twigs. They were smeared into paste against the floor tiles. Only Lord Gura remained standing, his knees buckling, roaring against the pressure. You, Gura snarled, purple energy flaring around him. You filth! You think you can enslave us? Gura lunged, a blade of pure dark energy forming in his hand. He was fast, faster than Jiren, faster than Broly. In the old timeline, Goku would have needed Blue or Ultra Instinct to track him, but Goku didn't dodge. He caught the blade with his bare hand. The energy sword hissed and sparked against Goku's palm, but it didn't cut. Goku's skin had hardened, infused with the density of the realm itself. He looked at Gura with a bored expression, the look of a man who had fought gods and found demons lacking. I'm not here to enslave you, Goku said calmly. He squeezed. The energy blade shattered like glass. Goku drove a fist into Gura's gut. The impact was so severe, it created a vacuum in the room, sucking the air out of the lungs of everyone watching from the shadows. Gura folded, vomiting violet blood. Goku grabbed the warlord by the horns and dragged him to the edge of the shattered throne room, holding him out over the balcony where Gura's army was assembled below. I'm here to lead you, Goku shouted, his voice amplified by ki, rolling across the plains like thunder. He threw Gura off the balcony. The warlord plummeted, crashing into the courtyard below with a bone-shattering thud. He didn't rise. Goku leaped down, landing on Gura's chest. The army, thousands of demons, beasts, and nightmares froze. They looked at their fallen lord, then at the warrior standing atop him, bathed in a crimson aura that felt like the end of the world. The angels locked you in here, Goku roared, pointing a finger at the swirling, bruised sky. They told you that you were mistakes. They told you that you didn't belong in their perfect universe. He began to walk through the ranks. The demons parted like water, terrified and awestruck. I believed them too, Goku continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous simmer. I played by their rules. I spared my enemies. I protected their balance. And what did they do? They threw me in the trash with you. He stopped, turning to face the sea of monsters. He powered up. The ground shook, splitting open. The crimson aura expanded, taking the shape of a massive, roaring Uzaru, a phantom of his Saiyan heritage, corrupted and evolved. There is no good and evil out there, Goku declared. There is only strength and weakness. The Grand Priest is strong, so he makes the rules. But we, Goku clenched his fist, and the phantom Uzaru roared, shaking the very foundations of the fifth circle. We are going to be stronger. One by one, the weapons dropped. The demons fell to their knees. It wasn't a surrender. It was an act of worship. They had found something harder than the Nullstone, something fiercer than their hunger. They had found a god of their own. Malafina landed beside him, her eyes shining with triumph. The seven circles were united. The civil wars were over. The army is yours, my king, she whispered. What is your command? Goku looked up at the sky, at the invisible barrier that separated the Makai from Universe 7. He could feel them out there. The Kais sipping their tea, Beerus napping, the angels hovering in their pale, detached silence. He smiled, and it was a smile of cold, absolute ambition. Open the door, Goku commanded. We're going home. The universe did not bleed easily. It required a blade of impossible sharpness, wielded with impossible hate. In the center of the demon realm, atop the highest spire of the unified fortress, Goku stood with his hands raised toward the bruising, purple, false sky. Beside him, Queen Malafina chanted in a tongue that predated the Kaioshians, her voice weaving a spell of unmaking. The energy of the seven circles, the raw, chaotic malice of billions of demons flowed into Goku. He acted as the conduit, the lightning rod for an entire dimension's desire to be free. Now, my king, Malafina whispered, her eyes bleeding mana. Tear it down, Goku roared. It was a sound that transcended sound, a frequency that vibrated the very strings of reality. He didn't fire a beam. He simply grabbed the fabric of space with his ki and pulled. The sky shrieked. It was the sound of a universe fracturing. A jagged tear, blacker than the void, opened in the heavens of the Makai. But this was not a portal to another place. It was a hemorrhage into the mortal plane. Through the tear, the blinding, terrified light of Universe 7 spilled in, illuminating the dark armies below. On the planet of the god of destruction, the air suddenly turned to ash. Lord Beerus dropped his cup. It didn't shatter. It simply ceased to exist before it hit the grass, erased by the sheer density of the pressure that had just materialized. The oracle fish darted into its bowl, trembling. Whis, who had been observing the nebulas with his staff, stiffened. The angel's usually unshakable composure cracked. His grip on the staff tightened until the wood groaned. "Oh dear," Whis murmured, his voice lacking its usual lilt. "It seems my father's judgment was premature." "What is that?" Vegeta demanded. The Prince of Saiyans was mid-training, shirtless, sweat glistening on his forehead. He had felt it a ki so familiar it made his heart skip, yet so corrupted it made his stomach turn. It felt like Kakarot, but stripped of all warmth, all mercy, all light. It felt like Kakarot if he had been hollowed out and filled with tar. "It's coming from the seal of the Makai," Beerus growled, his ears flattened against his skull. Purple Hakai energy flared around his body instinctively. "Something has broken the lock." "Not something," Vegeta whispered, looking up at the sky where a massive, spiderweb crack was forming in the atmosphere of their world. "Someone." The sky above Beerus' planet shattered. It didn't rain. It poured darkness. A column of violet and crimson energy slammed into the surface of the planet, vaporizing the ancient forests and boiling the lakes. The shockwave knocked Vegeta off his feet, sending him skidding through the dirt. As the dust settled, a figure walked out of the crater. He wore the obsidian armor of a warlord. His tail lashed behind him. His eyes were the yellow of a predator, and his aura was a heavy, suffocating weight that pressed the god of destruction's planet down into its orbit. "Kakarot." Vegeta breathed, standing up. He wiped the dirt from his face, his eyes widening in horror. "What have you done?" Goku looked at Vegeta. There was no recognition of friendship in those eyes, only a cold calculation of strength. Malafina stepped out of the shadow behind him, her hand resting possessively on his arm. "Kakarot is dead," Goku said. His voice was deep, echoing as if two people were speaking at once, the Saiyan and the demon. "The Grand Priest killed him. I am what survived. You look like a monster." Vegeta spat, clenching his fists. Royal blue energy ignited around him, evolving instantly into the violet flames of Ultra Ego. His eyebrows vanished, his hair turning a deep purple. He tapped into the power of destruction to counter the pressure. "You allied yourself with the trash of the cosmos? For what?" "Revenge. For freedom, Vegeta," Goku replied calmly. He took a step forward, and the ground cracked. "We spent our lives dancing for the gods, begging for tournaments, hoping they wouldn't erase us on a whim. I'm done asking for permission to exist, so you'll destroy everything instead," Vegeta roared. "That's not freedom, that's madness." Vegeta launched himself. He moved faster than light, a blur of destruction aimed squarely at Goku's head. His fist, wreathed in Hakai energy, connected with Goku's jaw. The impact was cataclysmic. It should have taken Goku's head off. Goku didn't even blink. He stood there, taking the full force of a god of destruction's power on his face. The ground beneath them disintegrated for miles, but Goku didn't move an inch. The crimson aura around him acted like a dense armor, absorbing the blow, eating the Hakai energy. Vegeta's eyes widened. "Impossible. Is that it?" Goku asked. Goku moved his hand. It wasn't a punch. It was a backhand, a dismissive slap. But backed by the physical strength of the demon realm, it hit Vegeta like a collapsing moon. Vegeta was launched into the horizon, crashing through 3 consecutive mountain ranges before coming to a halt in a pile of rubble. Beerus stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "You dare strike a candidate for destroyer on my planet? You have grown arrogant, Saiyan." "And you have grown complacent, cat," Goku retorted. He turned his gaze to Whis. "I'm not here for you, Beerus. You're just another servant. I'm here for the one who holds the leash." Whis floated down, placing himself between Goku and Beerus. The angel's face was grave. "Goku," Whis said softly, "you have fused your soul with the Makai. You know that energy is unsustainable. It consumes the vessel. You are burning your own existence to fuel this rage. Better to burn than to fade away, Goku snarled. The crimson aura flared higher, twisting into the shape of dragons and demons. Open the path to the Grand Priest, Whis, or I will burn this universe until the ash chokes him in his palace. I cannot do that, Whis said, raising his staff. You are violating the laws of nature. Then Il changed the laws. Goku raised his hand toward the tier in the sky. Legion, descend. From the crack in the heavens, the eyes appeared, thousands of them. The armies of the seven circles, the shadow beasts, the ancient warlords, they poured through the breach like a plague of locusts, darkening the sun of Beerus' world. They didn't attack. They waited, hovering in the air, a silent testament to the new order. Vegeta pulled himself from the rubble, blood streaming down his face. He looked at the sky, filled with monsters, and then at his rival, who stood like a dark god amidst the chaos. The rivalry was over. This was war. You want the Grand Priest? Vegeta shouted, limping forward, his ultra ego flaring one last, desperate time. You'll have to step over my dead body to get to the lift, Kakarot. Goku looked at Vegeta with a trace of sadness, the only human emotion he had shown since his arrival. Don't make me kill you, Vegeta, Goku said quietly. You're too small for this battle. He turned his back on the prince and looked up at the angels. The time for talk was done. He began to power up, and this time, he didn't stop. The crimson light turned white, at the core a terrifying fusion of Ultra Instinct and demon magic. He was going to force the angels to fight. The battle did not take place on the soil of a mortal world. It could not. The energies involved would have unraveled the tapestry of the cosmos, turning stars into dust and physics into a forgotten memory. Instead, the Grand Priest brought the war to them. With a snap of his fingers, the red skies of the demon realm and the shattered atmosphere of Beerus' planet vanished. Goku, Malafina, and the endless sea of the demon army were instantly transported to the world of Void, the infinite, sterile, white expanse, where the tournament of power had once decided the fate of universes. But now, there were no spectators in the stands. There was only the floating palace of all, suspended in the nothingness, and the lone, diminutive figure standing before its gates. The Grand Priest waited. His hands were clasped behind his back, his halo shimmering with a terrifyingly perfect light. Behind him, the two Omni-Kings, the Xenos, watched with wide, curious eyes, floating in their chairs. They did not look afraid. They looked entertained. Goku stepped forward, the obsidian tiles of the arena forming beneath his boots as he walked. The silence of the void was heavy, but the roar of his crimson aura pushed it back. You summoned us, Goku said, his voice echoing in the infinite white. I removed a stain from the living universe to prevent it from spreading. The Grand Priest replied, his tone pleasant, almost fatherly. I admit, Son Goku, I miscalculated. I thought casting you into the compost bin of reality would decompose you. I did not expect you to conquer the bacteria and weaponize it. You call it bacteria, Goku said, clenching his fists. The crimson lightning crackled, turning black at the edges. I call it the half of the universe you tried to hide. You want a world of only light, Priest, but light without shadow blinds you. Order requires pruning, the Grand Priest said, his smile fading. And you have grown wild. The Grand Priest did not power up. He simply existed. And then, he was everywhere. Goku didn't see him move. One moment, the priest was 50 yards away. The next, a palm was pressed against Goku's chest. Begone. A blast of white erasure energy, pure, absolute, and erasing, fired, point blank. It was the same light that had banished Goku before. It was the power to edit reality. But this time, reality refused to be edited. Goku didn't dodge. He roared, and the crimson aura exploded outward, dense and heavy as a collapsing star. The demon key didn't clash with the angelic light. It corrupted it. The white energy struck Goku's chest and hissed, turning gray, then dissolving into smoke. The Grand Priest's eyes widened, a flicker of genuine shock crossing his face. He retreated, floating back as Goku swung a fist that cracked the vacuum of the void. You can't erase me anymore, Goku growled, smoke rising from his armor. Am not just a mortal, and am not a god. I'm the thing that survives when both are gone. You mix the sacred and the profane, the Grand Priest stated, his voice dropping an octave, losing its warmth. It is an abomination. The battle erupted. It was a war of concepts. The Grand Priest fought with the laws of physics, altering time, reversing gravity, rewriting the coordinates of space. He was the author of the story. But Goku fought like ink spilled on the page. He was chaotic, overwhelming, and impossible to predict. When the priest tried to freeze time, Goku's sheer density shattered the time stop. When the priest tried to evade with Ultra Instinct, Goku flooded the entire arena with omnidirectional malice, leaving no safe harbor to dodge into. Malafina watched from the sidelines, her hands clasped in prayer, channeling the mana of the entire demon realm into her king. She was the battery, he was the cannon. More. Goku screamed, his body tearing apart under the strain. He was reaching his limit. The clash of angelic purity, his muscle memory, and demonic hunger, his soul, was tearing him apart at the atomic level. He needed to end this. He needed a form that didn't fight itself. He closed his eyes, amidst the barrage of holy light. Remember, he told himself. Remember the water. Remember the fire. They are not opposites. They are just flow. He stopped fighting the corruption. He stopped trying to use Ultra Instinct to control the demon energy. He realized the truth. The demon realm wasn't evil. It was just heavy. It was the anchor that kept the balloon of the universe from flying away. Goku opened his eyes. The crimson aura vanished. The screaming violet lightning faded. In its place, a silence fell over the world of void that terrified even the Xenos. Goku stood bathed in a soft, twilight gray energy. It was neither light nor dark. It was the color of the horizon between day and night. His hair remained black, but shimmered with a starlight gloss. His eyes were mismatched, one the silver of the angels, the other the vertical slit amethyst of the demon kings. True balance. What is this? The Grand Priest whispered, halting his attack. The middle path, Goku said. His voice was calm, layering the tranquility of the angels with the absolute authority of the demons. Goku moved. He didn't teleport. He simply arrived. He was in front of the Grand Priest, his fist buried in the angel's stomach, before the image of him moving had even registered. The Grand Priest gasped, his eyes bulging. The blow didn't send him flying. It grounded him. It forced the weight of mortality, of pain, of existence, into the angel's perfect body. Goku spun, delivering a roundhouse kick that the Grand Priest blocked with his forearm, but the impact shattered the angel's halo. The ring of light broke into shards of glass, chiming as they fell into the void. Goku grabbed the Grand Priest by the collar of his divine robes and pulled him close. The twilight energy swirled around them, a vortex of gray. The universe needs the dark, Goku whispered, his mismatched eyes boring into the priest's soul. Without it, your light means nothing. You can't erase us. We are the foundation you built your palace on. He raised his other hand, charging a sphere of energy that contained the power of the entire Makai, compressed into the size of a marble. He held it to the Grand Priest's face. Yield. The Grand Priest looked at the energy. He looked at Goku, a being who had transcended the design of the cosmos. He looked at the shattered pieces of his halo. This. The Grand Priest breathed, blood trickling from his lip, the first blood he had shed in eons. This is unprecedented. Grand Priest. The high-pitched voices of the Xenos cut through the tension. The Omni-Kings floated down, their faces beaming with delight. That was amazing, the left Xeno cheered. So cool, so scary. The right Xeno agreed. Goku is strong. Goku is distinct. He broke the halo! He broke the rules! The Xenos hovered between the two combatants. Neat, they said in unison. The Grand Priest straightened his robes, regaining his composure, though his eyes remained wary. He looked at the Omni-Kings, then back at Goku. The will of the Xenos was absolute. If they found this new existence entertaining, it was allowed. It appears, the Grand Priest said, wiping the blood from his lip, that a new decree has been issued. He bowed stiffly, slightly to Goku. The Makai will no longer be sealed. It shall be recognized as the 13th realm, a necessary shadow to the 12 universes. Goku let the twilight energy fade. He released the Grand Priest. He didn't cheer. He didn't smile. He felt the weight of the crown he now wore. Malafina rushed to his side, taking his hand. The demon army roared, a sound of vindication that shook the void. You cannot return to Earth as you were, son Goku. The Grand Priest added, his voice regaining its authority. You are now a cosmic constant. You are the king of the negative. You must rule your realm, or the balance will tip again. Goku turned to look at the view screen that showed Universe 7. He saw Earth. He saw Gohan studying, Pan playing, Vegeta training, in the ruins of the planet they had destroyed. He saw the life he could no longer live. He felt a pang of sorrow, sharp and deep, but it was drowned out by the warmth of the hand in his. He had traded simplicity for destiny. I know, Goku said softly. He turned back to Malafina. He squeezed her hand. Let's go home, he said. With a wave of his hand, Goku opened a massive gate, not a tear, but a formal, majestic gateway of obsidian and silver. He led his queen and his army through it, leaving the palace of all behind. As the gates closed, sealing the Demon King in his realm, the stars of the universe burned a little brighter. as if they finally understood that they only shone because the darkness was there to hold them.